Hey everyone, welcome again to the BATTASS Podcast, the Batman the Animated Series Show podcast. My name's Clay McCormack, and with me is
Sean Murphy.
And we are here to talk about Batman, and today we're talking about cults and con men, which I'm very excited about. We're going to be doing 2 episodes. We're going to be doing Prophecy of Doom and Joker's Favor. So you want to just jump right into Prophecy of Doom?
It's funny, your obsession with flat earthers and people that believe cults and conspiracies, it kind of makes sense that this episode goes along right now.
Well, I'm really fascinated by not only con men themselves, but the people who follow them. So I think I probably like that episode more than the most people. But anyway,
I imagine you on a Bigfoot hunt in the woods. And you wouldn't be staring at the trees or looking to the cameras like everybody else. You would be staring into the faces of the maniacs.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yes. Yeah.
So, what kind of fucking idiot are you?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I would do that. I would definitely be more fascinated by the people than the actual hunt. Yes.
Yeah. So what happened? Did you get dropped as a kid? Your parents related? I mean, what's going on here? Anyway, yeah, go ahead. What's this episode about?
So, Prophecy of Doom. Story by Dennis Marks, teleplay by Sean Catherine Derrick, directed by Frank Power, and in it, Batman investigates a cult called the Brotherhood, founded by the mystic Nostromos, after hearing about a number of stories from his colleagues about his ability to predict the future. Batman finds out that Nostromos is actually a con artist who was rigging near-fatal accidents to gain the confidence of Gotham's upper-class citizens, and he must expose this ruse before it is too late. Now, this really isn't that much of a standout episode, well, with one notable exception. But this is right in the pocket of the episodes that I wouldn't have liked when I was a kid because it doesn't feature a name villain. Mm-hmm. But as an adult watching it again, I really did like the content of it. I think the animation is probably not the best they've done, but it's all worth it for that end sequence at the planetarium, which is amazing.
Yeah, you did get a good set piece at the end of all this with all the planets and all that.
Yeah, that whole sequence where the planets are swinging around and smashing into each other and everything. That was like big budget Hollywood movie level action sequence, and I would love to see that like live action in a movie. I think it'd be really cool. I'm
guessing that's going to be the scene you want to draw. We'll get to the end of this
I was thinking that, yeah. I kind of was going back and forth because in my head I'm like, that would be a lot of fun to draw, but fuck, that would be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, drawing broken glass and shattered pieces, just I don't have the tolerance for it. I know it happens a lot in comics. Things break.
Right.
But drawing debris and all that, it takes a certain set of skills.
Yeah, I'm more. I would rather do that than draw anything from that Clock King episode with all the gears and stuff. That stuff would drive me absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the beginning of this one because that boat sinking sequence was pretty intense for a kid's show.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised. I forgot how much they went into that sort of opening to have like the jazz dancing and all the girls and guys in outfits, and then the boat goes down. They really blew a lot of money on that.
Yeah, it's weird because this is an episode that seems like it was probably pretty expensive, but it doesn't super feel like it. Like I said, the animation really isn't that clean compared to some of the other ones we've watched. And I don't know if maybe that's like, how sometimes movies have too much CGI in them, so the CGI ends up looking shitty because it's like they're just stretched too thin with what they're trying to do and what they can actually accomplish.
Right. Oh, you think that's what happened here?
It's possible. I mean, it is a pretty set piece heavy episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't love this one as a kid. I don't know if I loved it now as an adult. It's not because I'm all about the villains that aren't the main villains.
Right.
But I don't know what it was. It just this episode never really grabbed me.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, Nostromos is not a very memorable villain. I do like the idea that the planetarium that they're hanging out, like, did they have to rent that? Is it like, does it say on the list of like the planetarium schedule, like Tuesday is Pink Floyd laser show and Thursday is cult meeting?
Oh man, I miss those Pink Floyd laser shows.
Yeah. I actually just saw 2 Star Trek movies at the planetarium. Oh my God, it was so cool. Because they
with lasers, or they just project the movie up there?
They projected the movie up on the planetarium screen, and then they all around it they put the starfield up. So it was just the screen like in the middle of the starfield. It was super cool.
That is cool. Was the screen like bent? Was it
just
concave?
A little bit? Yeah. It was only about half of the seats were open, so it wasn't the whole 360 thing. But yeah,
gotcha.
It was. They had made it so no matter where you were sitting, it didn't seem too distorted.
They made it so, huh?
Yes. Yes, they did. It was very engaging.
Oh man, it's good to talk about Star Trek every now and then.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not like I don't do it all the time, but
I know. For those who don't know, Clay has another podcast where he talks about Star Trek a lot. And I used to be a guest on there.
Not to go on a tangent, but I never thought I would be like the Star Trek guy. Like, I always enjoyed Star Trek, but I never thought I would be like, that would be part of my brand. But here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really not your brand, but you enjoy it as an intellectual exercise, I think, because you like breaking things down, and it is a nice,
Yeah.
I always felt like, what is the guy's name? Nostromo. He's like a wannabe Ra's al Ghul in some way to me. Like
definitely visually, yes. He's got a very similar look, yeah.
Yeah. But I did like to see Bruce's rich buddies. Like, I know I said in a previous podcast that I don't think Batman needs Bruce Wayne at all, which is a very different type of Batman, of course. But seeing Bruce being Bruce and, learning about his friends and people who he's close with and that guy's daughter and all that stuff, like, it does fill the world up a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I liked that scene when he was at dinner with them. What was kind of nice, actually? I didn't get the feeling that he was dating that girl.
No.
Like, their relationship seemed very, just like friendly, and I kind of liked that because I think
her dad was right there. So what's he gonna do?
Yeah.
Put his hands on her knee?
Yeah. Well, he probably wouldn't do that anyway because he probably doesn't actually even like girls in real life.
He likes crime.
Yeah, exactly. He likes crime.
He's in love with crime.
But yeah, like it was. I think that actually adds to the world building that you're talking about because it means that not every relationship with a girl Bruce has is a romantic thing, and like there's actually there's more layers to things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like seeing that stuff. What I actually really liked about this one is another subset of the use of the Bruce Wayne character is this disarming nature that allows him to slip into these different situations that Batman probably wouldn't be able to.
Right.
And it kind of turns him like one of my if I had heroes in my life, which I don't really know if I do, one of them would probably be Harry Houdini, just because I'm fascinated by the work that he did exposing fraudulent con men and mediums in the 20s and stuff, and that's another reason why I like this, because that's basically what Batman does here.
wait, let's back up. You don't have heroes? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I would, if you told me to list like 5 heroes of mine, I don't know if I would be able to really do it.
What about like Picard, Highlander?
But I'm thinking like if you had to pick 3 people from real life, not characters, that you looked up to and considered like a personal hero. Do you have 3 people you could name?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would use hero. I would say tremendously informative for me were Carl Sagan, Henry Rollins. Just those 2 for now. But, I knew they were both flawed, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Not heroic. They didn't save anybody from a burning building yet, although Henry Rollins probably still could and should.
I would be surprised if he hasn't, actually.
Well, I think he might have own an orphanage or donate to some. He's heroic in his own way.
Yeah, that's pretty.
But
cool.
Also, he should save someone from a fire because that's pretty punk rock.
Just to put a bow on it.
Yeah. But do you have you don't have any heroes like that? I mean, is there something about your father you want to talk about here, or what?
Well, no. I mean, I noticed that you didn't say your father either.
Nope.
No, like it's I don't know. I haven't. I think Houdini's probably the closest I could come to that, because I think that what he was doing was really interesting and kind of struck me in a way where, coming up out of a certain upbringing, in church-related stuff, you kind of see the good side of that, but you also see the bad side of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And the bad side of that stuff really annoys me. Right. And so to see someone who was going after these people who were exploiting people's feelings and beliefs in order to make money and all that kind of stuff, I find that really, it is fairly heroic. I mean, the guy basically, the last half of his career, he turned it into a crusade against con men, which is pretty awesome.
Right. Well, shouldn't Penn and Teller be your new heroes then?
Yeah, that's not as fun to say, though.
I know. I mean, the obvious thing is
shouldn't
romance.
Neil deGrasse Tyson be your new hero?
No, I don't. I get burned out on Neil. I respect him, but Penn and Teller are big debunkers. So is the amazing Randy. People
that
like
guy's
that.
pretty great. I like that guy.
You like Houdini because there's the 1920s, black and white era gone by. He's passed. He died. I'm sure there's conspiracy theories around him that you know all about.
I know one or two. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and also he was the first. He was at the time. He was the biggest draw. He was one of the biggest attractions in the world. One of the biggest entertainers in the world. And right. So to take his fame and kind of turn it and use it as this spotlight on
right.
Con men and stuff is very interesting.
Right. I just think you don't like Penn and Teller's ponytail.
Yeah, I don't know. They're fine, I guess. Penn seems like he's probably kind of an asshole in real life. But...
Is he the quiet one or the?
No, he's the loud one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a Batman podcast.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Well, it made me think about Batman Houdini.
Oh yes.
And there's another episode of this where it features Zatanna and Bruce is training with her father, Zotan, or I don't know, some play on Zatanna. Mm-hmm. Zatanno. Anyway, yeah, Bruce's whole part of his training was learning about magic and about tricks and escaping and all that stuff. And I always thought that was a really nice, charming sort of throwback to kind of the pulp era of comics in a way, Right, yeah. And that's what made me think of the Houdini thing too, was because that's what he was doing. One of the reasons he could expose all these people is because he knew everything they were doing. Right. And the stuff he didn't know, he could figure out because he was the best at this in the whole world. Yeah. And so I like that aspect of Batman. It's just another facet of Batman that you can play with, where he's got such... Yeah, Batman is... he's got so many skill sets, mm-hmm. but if you look story to story, you never see all of them or more than 2 or 3 of them going at once, because otherwise it would become really apparent at how ridiculous of a character he is. Yeah. He's the world's greatest detective. He's an unbelievable fighter. He's a tech wizard. He can drive a Batmobile at 200 miles an hour and not kill anybody. It's but he doesn't know how to love.
That's true. He has a very tough time loving. But I mean, everyone has their flaw. It makes him more human because of it.
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. I'd rather. I don't really like my Bruce or Batman to be too unbeatable. I don't like when he's good at everything. I don't think you need that. I think that's what writers automatically do. But I think it's fine if he fucks up. Yeah. You can't have him mess up and someone dies, because that's sort of against the Bible of Batman. But yeah, I don't know why writers are so. No, Batman would have been 2 steps ahead of him. There's no way Batman would have allowed that to happen. And I always feel like, so what? He screwed up. He had a rough day. He slipped his mind. He forgot to bring his keys. I don't know. He's human, right? Right. Yeah. I like the ethos of, given enough time to prepare, Batman can beat anybody. Yeah. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a clean win, Right. Yeah. I think he's sacrificed because he's so good at things that don't matter to most human lives, like fixing your own engine while stock trading and sneaking around in the dark while identifying rare plants and knowing your history and escaping like Houdini. It's just not what most people need in their lives. Right. Most people not. No. Yeah. But I mean, the trade-off is zero family relationships or struggle relationships with his Batgirl and Robin and all that. And all the stuff that we all know. It's just, I think that's really interesting. Is he sacrificed the things that sort of make you human, because he made himself inhuman in a way.
Yeah,
for his goal.
And no, I mean, we're going way off the track about this episode, but as far as relationships go with Batman, why do you think that all of his other relationships end up going down the tube, but Alfred is always a constant?
Yeah, Alfred was there before. I mean, I think that if Bruce lost Alfred or pushed Alfred away, then he would lose himself completely.
Yeah.
He knows that that's the one person you can't. If you lose Alfred, then you're wrong, not Alfred. Whereas if he has a disagreement with Gordon or Batgirl or Nightwing, I feel like he probably thinks he's right because he's very stubborn. But if you abandon Alfred, then you're wrong, and I think he knows that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I would agree. I think it's I was watching Batman Begins last night, and it's really funny to me how quickly Alfred is just like totally game for what Bruce has in mind. Like, there's no point where he sits down and explains to him what he's going to do. It's just like, yeah, okay, now we're building a bat suit so you can go fight crime. And he's 100% supportive, up until the third movie anyway. But yeah, right. It's like this baseline for him of what he's doing is so intense and so skirting the line of falling into doing awful things, really, that Alfred's sort of like the support cord, and if that cord breaks, then he's just done.
Right. Which is, what I did with White Knight was when he really goes off the rails is when, spoilers, Alfred dies.
Right.
And like a lot of people who think that my Batman and White Knight is not true to who Batman is. But I have a lot of defenders who say, keep in mind, Alfred just died. Everyone's turning against him. He's human. I mean, maybe this is a version of Batman,
Yeah, I mean, he's Batman and White Knight is pretty on edge for the whole thing, but more or less his father in Alfred is gravely ill when the book starts. So if you've ever run into someone who's dealing with that sort of thing in real life, they're not always gonna be the most considerate people, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, obviously people are dealing with stuff,
Right. Yeah. But going back to the episode.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I thought you had to lead it.
No, I don't. I felt bad we were getting away.
Yeah.
I like talking about this other stuff though, because I don't really have a whole lot to say about this episode other than I like the set piece.
It's a pretty standard episode. I like the con men thing. I think it's tough because they really wrap it up very quickly. Like, I feel like they're just kind of like rushing to get to the final sequence here. Right. Because Nostromos really gives the game away pretty quickly, where they're setting up this whole devastation fund, and then he's like, but also I have your daughter and I'm gonna kill her if you don't pay me. He just
could have held out a bit longer.
Yeah, he throws all the pretenses out the door to try to get that money.
Yeah. I also find it bugged me as a kid, even when all these millionaires trusted this guy or were so duped by him.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, you don't get to be super wealthy without learning to protect yourself usually, unless you're a trust fund kid or something. And maybe these are all trust fund kids. But the argument against my argument would be the Bernie Madoff scam, how he fooled, hundreds of people or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this guy, although amplified to be a Batman villain, I think is a very realistic character. Yeah. I did think the amount of money they were giving him was kind of hilarious, though. Like, Bruce Wayne just writes him a check for $10 million.
Yep, it just happened to have it on me.
Yeah, at one point he's like, our fund now has over $70 million in it, or something like that, and it's like, holy shit, man, they are just forking that stuff over.
Yeah.
I would like to see this episode done in a larger scope. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like this could be this character and this story has more potential to be a longer series. If you say you were doing it as a comic,
Right.
I think you could get 4 issues out of this and have it be pretty interesting as far as how this guy infiltrates the,
Right.
the elite of Gotham and winning them over, and what strings he is able to pull now that he's got all this control and everything.
Right.
I think it could be a pretty cool series.
Well, my problem with this episode is it doesn't necessarily teach us anything about Batman. Bruce doesn't learn anything about himself. Nothing changes,
Right.
and I don't think every episode needs to do that. But Batman comes in skeptical of this guy. He's right, and he takes him down. And the only person that really learns a lesson is her father, the guy who almost got swindled, right?
Right.
I just feel like you need something else to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it feels very much like there's a beat missing,
Right.
Somewhere in the second act.
Yeah.
Because it's basically Bruce Wayne finds out about this guy. Then the guy tries to kill Bruce Wayne. Then Bruce Wayne
Right.
joins the group, and like there's no moment where I don't know if it would need to be like Bruce Wayne maybe starts to turn.
Mm-hmm.
Or like is brainwashed or something. I don't know.
Or
exactly
if Nightwing or if Robin or if someone that we know was sort of dipping their toe into this nonsense, and he was genuinely concerned, and he was like, "You got to be skeptical. You can't just believe what you want to hear." So maybe Barbara is into Nostromos because he's telling her about what her mother is saying beyond the grave. And Batman says, "Listen, you just have to accept your mother's gone. She's not talking to you." I mean, you would make it more of a cartoon, but I feel like
your mother's dead, Barbara. She's rotting in the ground. Worms are eating her as we speak. Welcome to Saturday morning, kids.
He wants to fight some crime. Yeah, I don't know. Like there could have been more consequences for someone in Batman's circle, and you could have pulled at the heartstrings of someone that we actually care about, rather than the only person we know in this episode is Bruce. That's the only character that we sort of knew about in the first place. Every other character is sort of invented for this episode and is basically never seen again, as far as I know.
Right. Yeah, you know what I think would also be nice if maybe, you've got Bruce and or Batman who is such a hard liner that this guy is full of shit and that, these people are idiots for believing him. Maybe have someone who's on the other side of that where they're not cult followers, but they also have their own beliefs. And, and maybe they're trying to warm him a little bit to the idea. Because, I mean, I'm sure Batman is an atheist, let's be honest.
Yeah.
He probably does not believe in the supernatural, even though at some points he's been a vampire. And other X, Y, and Z. But he's probably a much more grounded individual. So having somebody challenge him on what having beliefs like that could be in a positive manner would actually be kind of interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think this is a whole other tangent. I'd love to talk about the religion of Bruce Wayne, and I think about it a lot. I'm doing White Knight 2 now, which is going to be announced tomorrow, so I guess I can talk about it.
You heard it here first, folks. A week and a half after he said it.
But I think about I don't think Bruce is an atheist. I think he doesn't think about it. I think he's so obsessed with his singular goal that he doesn't think about the afterlife. But I think there's definitely some stories that you could do where he's older and maybe he's not recovering as quickly and his mortality starts to occur to him.
Yeah. Now, if we want to get into this discussion, which could be actually pretty fun. Do you think that his fight against crime, right, which is all stems from the death of his parents, does that soften if he has some sort of belief in the afterlife? Or should I say, does there have to be a sense of...
everyone's going to pay the price one day. You don't need to punish them, Bruce.
Right, like if he has this belief that they're in heaven somewhere, enjoying life, hanging out with Sir Isaac Newton or whatever, they might, because he throws the best parties in heaven.
Who wants an apple? I don't know why that's funny.
Oh, we have to focus on the gravity of the situation.
Oh man, engage.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Does the possibility of that make his quest possibly soften it
You're
a little
right.
bit. Like maybe he's not as intense.
Yeah, well, I feel like you sort of answered your own question. I mean, it makes sense that he's an atheist if he thinks, no, Joker's never going to be punished. I have to do it. That's why I'm so driven, because there is no justice. There is no fairness. There is no God.
And, I mean, does that, on the flip side, actually strengthen the reason why he doesn't kill people? Because, I mean, if his standpoint is like, when you're done, and that's it, then doesn't life then become even more sacred to him than than it would have otherwise?
Well, I think that you and I are thinking about this more than Bruce Wayne does. I don't see him being reflective like this. I see him being obsessed with the latest carbon nanotubing that he could use in his bat belt or something. I just don't think that he goes that deep. But it's funny because he's a very deep character. But I think Batman, the book Batman and the world of Batman, is deeper than how deep Bruce Wayne is emotionally. I think that the depth of the world, like he's not shallow, but I think his world is much deeper than he is, and so are the characters around him, obviously. It's funny. There's a point in the this episode, not to tie it back to the episode again, but the Nostradamus is getting started, and Bruce leans over to someone in the audience. He's like, "This is getting very deep." I'm like, I'm a very shallow character. I don't acknowledge anything below the surface.
Yeah, dumb Bruce Wayne is the best. Yeah, but I know that at least in the comics anyway, they write Nightwing as a practicing Christian, I think.
Right.
So to have those two, I don't know if they've ever had a discussion in the comics, but that would be interesting to see how they kind of bounce off each other in that way.
It's funny. When we were doing White Knight 2, I was thinking about creating a new villain, and my editor said, you should use somebody in Gotham, or he wanted me to do bring in all the JLA, and I said I don't want to do that. I just want to stay to Gotham. But what he did give me was the idea to use Azrael, and he said it would be kind of interesting to see you play into the religion part of Azrael, because you did a book about atheism, basically. I think it would be kind of fun. And I didn't know a lot about Azrael. I didn't know I knew he was religious because of all the stained glass windows and all the imagery you see associated with him, and I knew a little bit about the Knights Templar. But as I threw myself into research about Azrael, I was trying to write this character who plausibly believed what he does, even though I don't believe it at all. And it really helped enrich him. It really is a better book because of religion. I'm not sure what that says about Bruce, though. Yeah.
No, it's interesting. I'd be fascinated to see somebody dive into that stuff a little bit more. Yeah. And that's a nice tease for White Knight too. So that's a good way. Good place to leave.
Yeah. Thanks for your help.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else to say about this episode specifically. Do you have a part of it that you'd like to draw?
The planet thing would be cool because you're just drawing big circles and ellipses, basically. Right. But drawing a fight scene inside of a planetarium with that light gun in the middle, the thing that does the projection or whatever, that is cool. And it gives you the chance to use a lot of blacks and to really get, galactic with your backgrounds.
Right.
How about you?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Because my other favorite part of the episode, outside of the spectacle of the the planet sequence, is before that there's a fight in front of that spotlight that Batman and Lucas, I think his name is, have, where they just hit him with that hard spotlight and they basically go black and white. And so they've got these really high contrast black and white shadows and highlights and stuff, and it's really cool.
That is cool. Yeah, you're right.
And I have pulled out stuff pretty close to that almost every time it comes up, so I clearly have a thing that I'm into.
Wait, so in your comics, you generally go for a high contrasty spotlight fight scene?
If it's appropriate, I would.
Right.
Yeah. But I generally like the high contrast black and white look. So that when they do that in a kids cartoon, in a full color kids cartoon, I'm always gonna pop for that.
Yeah, I always dig black and white animation because they don't have to. There's one called Paper Man that was like a opening to another cartoon a few years back. It looked like a Pixar animation, but it was all black and white. Something like that. I don't know. Oh.
Yeah.
But anyway, I hear you.
What would you rate this one if you had to give it a rating?
I'm between a 2 and a 3. I get you. The imagery is cool, but I just feel like the plot needs to be bolstered with something else. I'm gonna go 2.5, I guess.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna give it a fairly solid 3, if not a high 3.
Right.
Just because, it's a throwaway plot for the most part, but like I think what they do visually and the set pieces and stuff bump it up a little bit. Like I would watch this in a heartbeat over like the Rat King episode
Yeah.
or one of those other ones where it's just a throwaway.
Yeah, you're right. I mean that rat one, yeah, those episodes get me. I give it 1s and 2s too. So
yeah, but even so, I feel like as we've been watching these, I feel like some of those episodes they're finding things to grasp onto to make them a little bit more interesting. Because the Rat King one had very little dialogue because none of those kids were talking, so it was a lot of silent sequences and stuff. So
right.
I feel like they're finding little things to do to make these kind of throwaway villains more interesting for us and them.
Yeah.
Which is nice because most shows like this would not go that far.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's it on Prophecy. Take a quick break and then we'll come back do Joker's Favor. All right, we are back, and we are going to talk about Joker's Favor, which, even though not really an important episode as far as what happens in it, there is one very big thing that happens because of this. Would you like to tell everyone what that is?
I think it's the first appearance of Harley Quinn.
Yes.
Yeah.
A character that was used once and never brought back again.
Just to open a door? Is that why they created her?
Well, she's like his the Joker's like henchman sidekick. She's kind of there. She's much more well designed. But before we get into that,
yeah.
Joker's Favor, written by Paul Dini, directed by Boyd Kirkland, and in it, after a man named Charlie Collins curses at the Joker on the road for offensive driving, the clown prince of crime corners him and intimidates him into doing him a quote small favor. 2 years pass, and the Joker finally decides how to use Charlie to sneak a bomb into the Peregrinators Club, where Commissioner Gordon is to give a speech at an awards ceremony. Charlie, who merely has to open the door, is skeptical at first, but for the sake of his family, he reluctantly decides to obey.
A peregrinator? Sorry?
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
It's like a parachute guy with a bag of grenades on him, and he just lets him go as he's floating down.
Why not?
They
Sounds
have
good.
bombs from planes that they can drop.
All right, now I have to look it up.
I'll assume it's a typo, or maybe it's pronounced like peregrinier or something.
No, it is a traveler or wanderer.
Oh.
That's interesting.
And that's not what I thought it was at all. Okay. I'll tell you, man.
Yeah.
I love this episode. I especially love his theme music with the silly whistling.
Yep. Yeah, this one has one of my favorite. It's a really simple plot, but it's one of my favorite plots. Mm-hmm. It's basically you've got a character in the wrong place at the wrong time who just makes the worst possible decision.
Yep.
And it's never, it's always something that's seemingly inconsequential, or, as in this one, he's pushed to a certain point, and he's just going to push back just a little bit. Like, he never pushes back in his life, and the one time he chooses to just shove a little bit, it turns out it's the fucking Joker.
Right. Yeah. You know what? This is actually, I think, the first really great Joker episode.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree.
I think the first 2 or 3 were kind of duds. And this one sort of defines Joker more than anything else. The fact that he would, pick on this guy on the road, follow him around, just tease him even though he's being chased by the cops, scare the shit out of him, steal his wallet, and then remember him like 4 years later, and actually call on him to do the tiniest little simple thing, and then with plans to basically kill him at the end.
Yeah. It makes the Joker scary, I think, in a way that he hasn't been up to this point. Because he's been basically kind of he's been pretty light. Like the one where he tries to kill the kid at the birthday party is a little dark, but even that one, it's basically he's just he's being a clown. As the episode is titled.
Yeah.
This is the first one where he's really aggressive and conniving, and plays a good joke in that he keeps his ID card and keeps him on file for 2 years.
Yeah, it does everything a Joker short story should do, basically. Yeah, and I mean, we can go on and on about Harley Quinn and how important she is and how she's a nice balance to him, sort of the sidekick character. And yeah, I mean, I'm kind of going through a lot here, but she's just so well designed. Just the outfit is so perfect. It's like Spider-Man costume. It's like, I mean, how do you do any better than what it was,
Right. And, I'd be curious to find out, and I could probably look it up, but I'm not going to. Like, why did they choose to... Because this is... Had they always planned on her being a returning character, or was she just meant to be a throwaway henchman? Because they went out of their way to design a great costume. Like you said, it's a perfect design.
So here's the question then: is they commissioned 3 seasons all at once, right?
About like 60 episodes.
60 episodes, like and in those episodes, they had Harley come back a whole bunch of times. So I've heard people say that she was designed as a throwaway character, but as she was so popular, they brought her back. I don't think they needed to bring. I think they needed 60 episodes. They put her into this one, and then they started using her again and again. I think it was more intentional than that. I don't think there was time for fans to react and go gaga over her, and for them to we should probably put her into more. The way that the events unfolded, I think that they sort of knew that it was cool to have a Joker sidekick. The show could always obviously use more women. I think they sort of knew what they had when they struck gold. They struck oil, basically.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, it actually says in the trivia on IMDb, originally the script called for the Joker to be in drag. The writers decided this was out of character for him and created a one-shot female character to fill this role instead. The character became extremely popular and was soon upgraded from one of Joker's goons to a major player in the Rogues Gallery, Harley Quinn.
So it must mean that she became popular with the writers and the staff and the animators, because no one had seen... Again, they ordered 60 of these things, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
and this was the 4th episode that they did.
So then,
I'm sorry. That's I read that wrong. It's the
it can't be
4th episode with the Joker in it.
Okay,
to be produced.
That makes sense. But so if they commissioned 60, you don't get 60 episodes all at once. So they wrote, they said, we're going to do 60. They let the animation people know. They started finding different animation houses to do it. They got the scripts ready. So they started, with the seasons that are going to be released first, obviously. I'm just talking out loud here. And they got the first 22 to 25 episodes in the can, and then they started to put them out on TV. But I imagine the job you can't just do 60 all at once, obviously. So they must have also, you could argue that they had time to let viewers see Harley, realize she was such a hit, and then move forward with her,
Yeah, it was that piece of trivia that I screwed up on. It's the first episode to be aired which the Joker appeared in. So this was the first Joker episode that was on TV.
Well,
so you got Harley in the first. Yeah, you got Harley in the first Joker episode.
Why do they? So sidebar, because we're trying to figure out which one came out first, and there's 3 seasons, but they commissioned them all at once, so it's confusing. I've been watching them on Amazon Prime until they just took them off recently, but they're not labeled this way in the DVD set I have. I don't know.
Are they labeled differently in the DVD set?
I thought so. I mean, if you go to the DVDs, I think the Christmas with the Joker, with him escaping on a tree, is the first episode in that set. So if this one hit the air first, which is great because this is a much better episode, I don't know. I'm just confused.
Yeah, I think it's just production time, like which ones were finished first. I've wondered that myself. I think with certain shows. Back in the days when things weren't serialized, as much as they are now, you had that leeway where, if this episode's done first, we can put that one out. It happens on Star Trek all the time where the ones, the kind of crappy episodes go up first because they are just finished first.
That's a good point. Yeah, they rush the animation, so let's get these out. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is a good, speaking of animation, this one doesn't blow me away animation wise, but there actually is a little detail that I actually thought was great, because I feel like I haven't really seen it in a cartoon before. When the Joker's chasing down Charlie in the car, and Charlie's sort of like hitting these turns and like fishtailing.
Oh, yeah.
They put the tail light,
the Akira
like,
lights. Yeah.
Yeah, which is really cool. I mean, that's not something you usually see in cartoons, I don't think.
Well, and Akira did it. I think it was famous for doing the trailing red taillights.
Right.
I'm assuming this is a nod to that. I mean, maybe Akira wasn't the first to do it. I don't know.
No, well, it looks great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's another little detail from the show that is fantastic.
Yeah. I enjoyed the sets, the backgrounds. I like in the woods when Charlie thinks he's outrun the Joker and Joker appears through the trees or whatever. Like, I remember really liking all that stuff.
Yeah, and I love the Joker's look when he's got that overcoat and the hat.
The hat is
Jack
great.
Nicholson.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of wish they had the hat throughout most of the series, because he looks a little bit more intimidating,
Yeah, it almost feels like his shoulders are a little higher too.
Yeah.
Like he's a little hunched over. It gives him definitely a darker kind of look to him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it does have one big set piece in it towards the end where they whatever this Peregrinators Club thing is, they apparently meet at it looks like the Museum of Natural History or something.
Oh, yeah.
And they have this big fight scene inside an Aztec temple, like a faithfully recreated Aztec temple, which I have to believe is a huge liability, because that thing has poison darts and like drop-away floors that lead to spikes in it.
Yep, that's pretty much, even in museums, when they're recreated, they recreate them with traps and poison darts.
Yep, and they don't put any like safety precautions in there at all, just in case.
Oh, yeah. Children beware.
But
yeah, it was funny. It's not like you needed to have that, but they kind of were like, well, what haven't we drawn before? Let's try some animals, or let's do some Aztec stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool. I mean, it definitely has a good look to it. It actually reminded me of, I was thinking, if we had extra time to kill or like needed some sort of extra content, doing the Fleischer era Superman shorts would be a lot of fun.
Right.
Because there's lots of this stuff in them. Some of them are super racist when you look back at them now.
Yeah, totally.
Spoilers. But there's like lots of really cool animation as far as really kind of exotic. That's probably not the word to use, but you know what I mean. Sets and locations and stuff like that.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
That scene in this one reminded me of that stuff.
Yeah. No, I like the ending when Charlie got to beat the Joker in his own way. He was active in his own rescue, and he even got a giggle out of Batman, which I thought was great.
Yes, yeah, which never happens. Yeah. Although I do have to wonder, how did he know that was a joke bomb, or did he know that was a joke bomb?
Right. Yeah.
Or was he just actually planning to kill everybody?
It happens in another episode where Harley pulls a joke gun on Joker, pulls the trigger, and it goes, rat-tat-tat on little signs. And it's unclear if she knew that was actually not a real gun.
Yeah, it reminds me of one of my favorite beats from Batman Returns, when the Penguin is like dying, and he's stumbling forward, and he reaches into his umbrella thing.
Yeah. He grabs the wrong one.
Yeah, it turns into the one that has like the baby carousel, and just goes, shit, I grabbed the cute one.
Oh man, you can see him getting ready for It's Always Sunny when his Penguin portrayal.
Yeah, Frank is basically 2 clicks away from the Penguin, I think.
Who pooped the cave?
They're both pretty gross.
Who pooped the cave? Going from penguin to penguin. Was it you?
But so this one's a Paul Dini episode. He seems to be a pretty good writer for this show. We've only seen a couple, but both of them have been pretty good.
Yeah, Dini, I think, is my favorite writer. Especially, he's really good at one-shots, which is what these episodes obviously are. I think Bruce Timm is a great writer. Kevin Altieri, Boyd Kirkland. I think Marv Wolfman wrote a few, too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he did, yeah.
But I think the top 2 were Dini and Bruce Timm.
One of the things I was wondering as we were getting into this was, whether or not it was going to end up just being like a Paul Dini love fest.
Right.
Because I feel like after so much, because of Harley and because of Heart of Ice, I mean, you could. It doesn't matter who it was. Whoever wrote those two would probably be talked about as the best writer on the show, even if he never wrote anything else.
Right.
So it's I'm enjoying seeing episodes written by other people that are also very good.
Yeah. Yeah, it begs a question too. I don't know what Paul is doing. I've never met him, but we've talked on Twitter and stuff. But he was one of the writers I would love to work with one day, just to do a one shot or something fun. But I don't know why he doesn't do more in comics. If he just chooses not to, or if he's animation or whatever pays more. I have no idea. It seems like that. I'd love to see his Dark Knight though. Like what is his Batman opus? Give him like a 12 issue. And if he's done it and I'm not aware of it, I apologize. But as far as I know, he never really sunk his teeth into a major series like that. And I'm not sure if he's even looking for that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, offer to draw it for him. You never know. You get the script in the mail.
You know what? I thought about seeing if he would do a Neo Joker, if he would help me flesh her out, considering she's like a Harley Quinn 2.0. And
no,
what
it's
kind
fine.
of ideas?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to ask me about it. Just if you want to get Paul Dini, that's fine.
I'm looking for a name, Clay. No, I'd love to. I'd always, yeah. People, did I already say that you're helping me with my Batman? Do I need to kiss your ass and give you more credit? Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm just giving you a hard time. No, I mean, he would be awesome. That would be great. Why not?
Yeah,
call him up.
Yeah, I'll get right on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to say about this one?
I'm sure we'll talk more about Harley Quinn as time goes on.
Yeah, she doesn't really do much here. Although I do have to say, she is pretty fully formed as far as like look and sound and attitude. It's pretty much all there.
Right.
It's not like one of those instances where they kind of retooled a character that was just sort of in the background. It's like it's there.
Right. Yeah, it is amazing because I've been listening to these while I'm working and just hearing the voice actors. Some of them who really get it, some of them who don't get it, and they sort of play it over the top because it's just a comic book cartoon. Who cares? But the ones who do get it, like the one who plays like Roland Daggett, I mean, you have a couple of drawings of what your character looks like. They're you're in your 60s. That actor, I forget his name. When he was recording, he's an older man. And like, all right, fine, sure. The choices he makes behind that character and how he sticks to them, like the voice pattern, the when he pauses, when he raises his voice, when he lowers it, it's so consistent just with that one character. And there's so many voice actors that they got for this that made these decisions, stuck to them, and they work. And I mean, because usually you get to see the dailies and you get to decide, oh, maybe I'll do this next time, or you get to see maybe a few seasons of the cartoon before you really start to get to who your character is and what he sounds like. But they got it right out of the gate. So many of them were so good. And to them, it's like, I don't know, 3 days of work.
Right.
Like for me, you think about Mr. Freeze and that voice. I know that actor died a few years back. To him, that was just a long weekend in Palm Springs recording. Okay, yeah, sure, Mr. Freeze, see ya. To me, that's like the voice of one of the best villains of my generation. I think about Mr. Freeze probably more than that actor did.
Yeah.
And for him to nail it so well, it's just amazing.
Yeah, and not to bring it back around to Star Trek again, but
Let's do it.
There's an episode of Deep Space Nine that has it's a story about 3 older Klingons who are going off to do this like one final glorious whatever.
Of course.
And I'm listening to these voices and I'm going, these guys sound really familiar. And then I was like, oh my God. One of them is the guy that does the voice of Apocalypse from the X-Men show, which is another really iconic villain voice. And the other one was the guy who does Mr. Freeze's voice from Batman.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I have to say, not to go. We could probably talk about this for a while too. The voice acting I've found in the newer movies and stuff, I don't know what it is, but it just feels so much more flat than on these shows.
Right. Well, I feel like Disney used to do a good job of hiring for Little Mermaid and the first set of the 90s Disney movies. I think that they hit it right on by picking people that were good performers, good singers, Broadway caliber performers, whatever. But then I think it was Prince of Egypt or some other cartoon started to come out where they started to cast celebrities.
Yep.
And in Prince of Egypt, I think they cast Brad Pitt. And I love Brad Pitt.
Val Kilmer, I think, actually.
Oh, I'm thinking of something else then. Because Brad Pitt did a voice acting for a cartoon.
Maybe it is that one. I don't know.
But whatever. So let's just assume that you're wrong and I'm right, and it's Brad Pitt. I think you're probably right. I love Brad Pitt, but he does not have a great voice. He is all in looks and attitude and acting. Like, I get it, but voice acting,
killing Nazis.
I know. But I feel like the people who hired voice actors back in the day, even for video games, like those old PC games, hire Mark Hamill, but you hired him because he's great, not because he's Luke Skywalker. I mean, most kids watching had no idea that was Luke Skywalker until
I didn't.
Maybe right now. Yeah. But I don't know when we got in this whole thing of let's hire celebrities. And I know that the suits think that, if we have Brad Pitt, we can put his name on a poster and it'll draw people in, or Patrick Stewart. And I think Patrick Stewart is a good voice actor, which is the difference. But I don't think it really matters that much. And they must be paying, Brad Pitt's fee for a weekend is got to be pretty high. So I'm not sure they're really getting their money's worth out of these celebrities, especially because the product isn't quite as good as just a really good voice actor.
I also think it's a combination of that plus the animation. At least with some of the 2D stuff they do now. The style of animation is so much stiffer than it was, which is really strange because you'd think it would get slicker and more fluid. But part of what makes this show so great is that on top of the great voice acting is the emotion that they can get out of these characters, like visually. And if you don't have that and it's a lot stiffer, then I think that amplifies how stiff the acting is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the Dark Knight Returns cartoon that they did a couple years ago.
Right.
Sure, great, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Weller plays Batman.
Right.
I think he is really not good at it.
and
that comes from someone who loves RoboCop. Yeah. Jinx. It's just like I don't know if he had the right approach to it, like you're talking about. Like it's Peter Weller delivering these Batman lines, but it doesn't feel like he's really into it, the way other people might be.
Yeah, you need a better casting director, someone who isn't being pressured to hire celebrities, someone who recognizes a hungry actor who really wants it, who's going to run with it, And even though Mark Hamill is a well-known actor, like we all know he's a hard worker, and he really sinks his teeth into roles like the Joker. I mean, he wanted it. I guess he wanted Batman, but he certainly ran away with Joker, and that was crazy good.
Yeah, and if it happens to be the same casting director that did the show that does these movies, then I apologize for insulting you, and I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, get your shit together, man. Stop hiring Brad Pitt. He's not Batman.
What would you draw from this episode?
I think the forest sequence at the beginning with Joker with the hat.
Yeah.
I think playing with those shadows, especially you and I, someone in our text thread with our friends passed around a Zafino page recently that had some trees in it. And I've been just looking at that in my free time, just glancing at how he did those trees. And it's just like, God damn, I got to do a tree book of some kind again.
White Knight 2 takes place entirely in the forest.
White Knight, Dark Forest.
Yeah. That's a good one. I was thinking the Aztec fight scene.
That's good. Yeah.
Because I was thinking more like an Alex Toth kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever see that cover? I can't remember what the hell it's for. It's a Toth cover of this adventurer character bracing himself between two, and there's people walking underneath him.
Yeah, yeah.
I was thinking like that.
Fantastic.
I was thinking, that kind of look to jumping between the bricks and stuff, and I think that would be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I agree. You're just making me want to go look at Alex Toth now.
Well, before you do that, what would you rate this episode?
I'm gonna go a low 4.
Yeah.
How about you?
I would agree. Yeah, I think I would agree. It's tough because in a vacuum, I don't know if it's a 4 because it's fine. Like it's not super.
Yeah.
I think it's still good. I think it's still good in a vacuum because it's a good story. It's a little bit different than your normal, Batman punches a guy.
Yeah.
Like, Batman's not even in it for most of it.
Right.
He only shows up at the end. And as we've talked about before, or possibly after this,
right.
I think the ones where Batman is a background character tend to be pretty strong.
Yeah. So I think this is an almost flawless episode. The reason I'm going 4 and not 5 though is because it's sort of a slice of life story. It's not supposed to be epic. I don't feel like it's supposed to. It's not trying to be a 5, and that's okay.
Right. Right. I think this is another one where I would love to see this expanded and done as like maybe a...
Dude, if they did this with the Joaquin Phoenix, this was like the opening scene to the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, that would be amazing.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking like get like maybe if you have like an annual, like a Batman annual or something where you can maybe a one shot or maybe even 2 issues.
Yeah.
Where you could really get into, you've got the beginning thing with, Charlie and the Joker, and then the Joker, does the Fight Club thing where he keeps his license. And then you do like a whole half of an issue where it's just following Charlie, seeing what he's doing with his life, seeing how his life is moving on. It's become very normal. Normal problems are happening, but it's, he feels like he's out of the clear. It's very run-of-the-mill. Yeah. And then he gets the phone call, and it's the Joker on the other end. And it's like the end of your issue. I think that would be really cool.
That would be great, but I feel like it's so hard to get permission to do that kind of storytelling.
Yeah.
Like even in my own books that I control, I'm so anxious to move on to the plot and use up all the space I have to talk about Azrael or whatever, that I don't get to do artistic long, I don't even know what kind of storytelling you call that, but that kind of a sequence, which is you have time to just draw. He's in a library, he's checking out a book. Why? Because this is him growing older. And then next panel, he's losing some hair. And artistically, yes, that's total like indie awesome punk rock move. But in commercial comic books, you just don't see that. And probably for good reason.
Yeah.
You and I love it, but I think most readers would be like, dude, I spent $4 on this to watch a guy go to a library and lose hair. This sucks. Where's Batman?
Well, it's fine. You're a sellout. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for us now. Yep. Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, man. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, and thanks to everyone for checking it out. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do that at BATTASS Podcast. BATTASS Podcast, or shoot us an email if you got any questions or whatever, and that's battasspodcast@gmail.com. So yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Let the good times roll.